Hey guys, so what I want to show you today is how clear-cut logging in the watersheds of the Nooksack River is a main factor that's driving flooding in the Nooksack River right now in Washington State and in Abbotsford, BC. All right, so let me give you the lay of the land. Over here, we've got Mount Baker. And then we've got the Nooksack River that's spilling its banks and spilling into Abbotsford right now. And then the Nooksack River actually flows off of the slopes of Mount Baker along three main forks. We've got the North Fork right here, and then we've got a middle fork right here, and then we've got the South Fork right here. All right. And right now we're actually looking at the satellite imagery from 1984. And you can see the land is covered in dark green, signifying that these would have been largely older forests. There's a little bit of clear cutting that had already happened prior to 1984. But watch what happens as I start moving through time. Year after year, those forests are chipped away by the logging industry. You can see clear cuts appearing on the landscape. I'll just zoom in a little bit more. And those clear cuts, what we're learning from the latest hydrological science is that they are dramatically increasing the frequency and the magnitude of flooding. And even a small amount of clear cutting in a watershed can dramatically increase the flood risk. In some cases, you see the flood risk go up by 18 times, right? And what you'll also notice is that over time, those clear cuts start to green up as those new trees that they've replanted start to regrow. And you may say to yourself, oh, that's great. They plant new trees. What's the big deal? Well, that's actually kind of a mirage because those young trees, what the science is also telling us is that they take 60 to 80 years for the hydrology to recover. So that means we're going to be sitting at a heightened risk of flooding and to drought for decades to come because all that water is now flowing off the hillsides all at once. There's also logging roads and ditches that are channeling that water straight into the river system and out into the ocean. And so that water doesn't have a chance to slowly percolate into the soil and recharge the groundwater table and replenish those rivers and streams in the summertime in the driest part of the year. So that's how you end up with flooding, increased flooding, and droughts for decades to come because the recovery of these young forests is very slow. And this is the big part of the story that isn't being told. Yes, we built in floodplains. That's a big factor. Yes, climate change is making atmospheric rivers more frequent and more intense, but the clear-cut logging and the land use and land cover changes that we've done to the landscape is also a major factor that's driving these floods.